Good morning, good evening, and good night, everybody. My name is Sarah, and today we are doing the fandom tag. Now, I had a couple of different tags I was debating on doing this week, and I ultimately settled on the fandom tag simply because not only includes books, but also like movies and TV shows. I might answer most of these with the books, like even them that ask for like, what's your favorite movie? Like I might answer with like a book to movie adaptation. But, like, stretching the rules and all, that just means I can come back to this later. And maybe, just maybe, we can grab a couple of friends along the way. But for now, it's just me. And so, with that all being said, let's dive on in. Now, I'll leave the original video down below. It is made by Portrait by me. She is a great booktuber. Go ahead and check her out. Again, I will leave the link down to the original down below. But for now, let's get into this. Now, the way the fandom book tag works is that there's a question for every letter of the word fandom. So the first question is for the letter F, and it is the first fandom you became a part of and the first book that started your love of reading. But the first fandom I really got into was Italia. I've mentioned this before. It started my love of cosplaying. It started, I made a lot of friends through this, and it really got me into the idea of learning about history through alternative methods, and that did eventually lead me to Hamilton. And Italia really started it all. As cringy as that fan base may be, I do enjoy it. Now, for the book that started my love of reading, that would be the Kane Chronicles. I was not much of a reader up until I picked up that series, and that was because I was really interested in learning about mythology that wasn't Greek or Roman. Kane Chronicles obviously focuses on Egyptian mythology, and I'm like, this is new. I love the humor. I love the characters. Even back then, I didn't like the romance, but hey, it's a good series nonetheless. And so that trilogy got me into so much trouble at school because I wouldn't focus on my schoolwork and would instead read. But that's led me to where I am today. So, K Chronicles. A, all-time great. The fandom you could watch over and over forever. For me, that would be DNF A Fandom. I don't really remember the first time I watched it, but I rewatched it junior year of high school, and I became obsessed with the series again. And I've been reading so much fan fiction for it recently, and it's just that show has so many different possibilities, and I just want them all. It's such a weird series, but I really love it, and so of course I would watch it over and over again. And now for the book question is a book that you can read again and again. And for me, that would be Carry On. I'm not much of a rereader person, as mostly because, if I read a book, I tend to notice flaws I didn't see before. It's not the same as enjoying the book at the same time. But Carry On for me is just, I felt like I had to reread that book. I've never felt like I had to reread a book before, and Carry On has been the only book that really stuck in my mind. It's like, hey, pick this book up again because it's just that good. And I cannot wait for the sequel to come out. Yes. And newest thing, the newest fandom you're part of. This is Cuphead for me. I enjoyed the game. It had a nice aesthetic to it. The amount of effort that went into making every single frame of that game is astonishing, but it was one of those oh yeah, it's a cool game, let's let it pass. I recently discovered an AU on Tumblr. It's the Cuphead Casino AU, and I think it's called Swing You Sinners or whatever. I will leave a link down to it below, but that art, it's I don't know how to describe it, but the AU takes place really when the Cuphead brothers are grown up now, and they just decided they wanted to work at the casino again because no place gave that excitement like they wanted. So it's really beautiful, and I love it, and I love the interpretation, and it's just so yeah. I recently joined the Cuphead fandom because it's just the AUs have got me back into it. And then the book question for this is the last book that you purchased. For you guys who don't know, I am currently on a book buying ban, so the last book I purchased was Not Your Sidekick. I was putting off the book buying ban until I could get that book, and unfortunately I did eventually have to buy it online, so I read it. It was pretty great, but yeah, that was the last book I bought for kind of gonna be a while now. DNF, a fandom you simply couldn't get into. For me, it's kind of a complicated answer. I have the similar force myself to enjoy a show because of how much I love the art for it. that was Voltron for me. I never, like, it was a decent show for the first 4 seasons, but the art, I was just in love with. I just loved all the art that I could find, and so I felt like I needed to watch the show, but, like, I never actually enjoyed it. But for a show that kind of, like, I couldn't get into was Steven Universe. It's like, oh, all my friends like it, and I see all this beautiful art, and I follow so many of these beautiful editors who do great work, and sometimes I have Steven Universe stuff on there, and I'm like, that's great and all, but I'm just gonna sit over here. And so, yeah, Steven Universe really fits for that. And the book question for that is a book or series you never finished. You all know I have such a horrible time keeping up with my series, but the last book I did DNF was Long May She Reign. I got 50% through that. It just wasn't keeping my attention. It was a fine book, but the problem is it was a YA political drama. I do not like politics. It was not for me, and so I just like, hey, Lauren, take this book from me. Just put it on your shelf. Oh, one more time. The fandom you'd like to see a rebirth of. For me, this is definitely Bleach. Bleach was this anime manga that was my childhood, and the company did them dirty. That's simple fact. The company that ran the anime, the company that managed the manga, did them dirty. It was such a beautiful series, and I loved it so much, and they had to go and destroy it, and so Fandom was not happy about that and quickly abandoned it. I am still here. I am still waiting, but nevertheless, it is gone now. And for the book question, it's a book that deserves a sequel. For me, this is Magnus Chase. Because Magnus Chase. I love that series so much. And it's not fair that, like, the Percy Jackson, like, yeah, okay, Percy Jackson's a long series as is, but then you also have, like, The Last Olympian and then Trials of Apollo. Like, I get it, those aren't the same series, but it follows the same general mythology. Magnus Chase has 3 books, and that is it. And it also has the 9 from 9 and then, like, the survival guide, but those don't really count. I just need more of Magnus. It's such a good series. I love the characters. I love the interpretation of the mythos. I'm still slightly peeved about their version of Loki, but no one can quite get Loki correct. So, I mean, it's just such a good series, and I just need more of it. M, most inspirational. The fandom that has inspired you most. This should be a surprise to no one who follows my art Instagram. That is Thomas Sanders. I love Thomas so much. He's such a beautiful human being, and I make art for him once a week. Here's a couple examples. But, like, he's such a good human, and just all the inspiration he brings to my art, and it's so good, and it's so nice, and it's just, like, watching him makes me a better human being. Like, honestly, he cheers me up. That actually does tie into the next question, which is a book that makes you a better person. I don't have an answer for this. I mean, can I say the Bible? Because, like, I mean, does it count? I don't think it counts. Again, I don't really have an answer for this because I don't think a book has ever affected my life in such a way. I mean, other than the Kane Chronicles, which got me into reading in the first place, but I don't know. I don't know. I mean, there's some Night Vale books, but I mean, I think the podcast, like, affects me more than the books do. I don't know. I'm just leaving that question in the air, okay? And finally, S, share the love. A fandom you got your friends into. Again, Italia. I made so many friends in this. This also counts for Thomas Sanders because I've recently gotten 2 of my friends to watch the entire series with me. And, yeah, there's a lot of fandoms out there that I got people into, but mostly it's those 2. And finally, a book you would recommend to others. Night Vale. I've tried so hard not to talk about Night Vale in a lot of my recent videos because I noticed I was bringing it up every single video, but it's such a good book. It has such a good companion novel. The podcast is great, and if you're not into podcasts, they have like the written down version, like the manuscript for all of them in book form, and it's so good. It's so great. I love it. Night Vale it just is. So that has been the Fandom Book Tag. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If If you like this video or have any suggestions of what I should do next, leave that down in the comment section down below. While you're there, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And as always, good night, good evening, and good morning, everybody.